Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So we just finished up these cabinets and they turned out phenomenal. This blue really gives it a pop of color when you walk into this pantry. However, now it's time to do this countertops. We are going to be doing epoxy elegance on a dime. So what does that mean? We're going to be using MDF wood, cover it with epoxy resin and turn it into the countertops of your dream without the price tag of marble or quartz. Like many other things, there is a lot of options when it comes to DIY countertops. The way I'm doing it right now is just the way I prefer to do it and the look that we're going for. So I'm going to be using 1-inch MDF and that's going to be my countertop. You can, however, do 2 layers of MDF. You can do plywood with MDF. Any way you choose it, depending on what kind of finish or thickness do you want. You can do a 1-inch with a trim around it and make it look like it's marble or quartz to give it that thickness. We prefer to have the thinner look and that's just what we're going for, and that's what I'm going to show you guys. So let me show you guys how to get it done. So the first step that you would obviously want to do is to cut your MDF or wood that you're going to be using according to the shape of your counter space. So we already did that, and I just want to show you guys the way I'm going to secure it. I've got 2 different kinds. I put in these little L-shaped brackets with also a corner piece that I'm going to screw from underneath. So it's secure there, and then 2 screws that will go into the countertop. I did put a couple of brackets around it, and I'm going to secure it that way with also a layer of glue on top of the plywood. Okay, that went a lot smoother than expected, so super awesome and happy about that. Now I'm just going to go ahead and secure it underneath with little wood screws. Okay guys, we got the countertop installed and I have to say it went a lot smoother than I anticipated. Super happy about that. As you guys can see, there is a seam over here. The MDF that I got only comes in 8-foot length, so I had to make a decision. And if it was a full length, it will probably be a little bit impossible for me to put this in by myself. So as you guys can see, also over here, there is another seam. The 4-foot board came all the way to here. So I was a little bit short on this side. However, I did make the executive decision to cut it back some and then join it over here. I did put in gels and glue and sand it all the way down, but I do need to get some filler, smooth it in, and then get ready for the primer for the epoxy. So first things first is to get these seams filled up. So I am going to be using this epoxy wood filler. You can use regular wood filler, but in my opinion, this is the way to go. You would definitely not get cracks or dips or anything like that. You can sand it afterwards and it's perfect. So in my opinion, this is the best way if you want to do countertops with a seam like this. Ideally, you want solid piece of wood on your countertops, but in my case, I cannot have solid countertops. So this is going to be the second best option. So let's mix some wood filler and fill up these seams. I am making awesome progress on these countertops. I did secure them underneath with a couple of screws and brackets, and I also filled up all these seams with a epoxy wood filler. And now it's time for the next step, which is going to be to prepare these countertops for the epoxy resin. So for that, I am going to be using this primer. It is specifically for this epoxy. It is a whole kit. You can go on their website. It is called Stone Coat Countertops. And you can buy anything, any color, and it comes in a kit form. It's super simple, very cheap and affordable, and that's the way I'm gonna do it. So we are gonna do a plain white countertop. This is my white coloring that I'm gonna put in the resin once I mix this. And then I'm also gonna use a primer, which is also white. So it's gonna be very white. Hopefully it's gonna look awesome. We are not gonna do any marbling or anything like that. We just wanna go for a clean look. So I'm gonna put some primer on and let's see what this looks like and get ready for it. After the first coat of primer, I waited 1 hour as recommended, and then I used a 220 grit sandpaper and sanded all the way through. I did do 3 coats of primer and I sanded it after each coat. So they do say to sand your countertops after the primer, and the reason for that is, let me show you guys. This is everything that comes out of the paint after the sanding. So definitely need it. You don't want to get there. That's all the imperfections right there. So you definitely want to get it as smooth as possible. Okay guys, and now we're ready to put our epoxy resin on. I did finish up the primer. I did 3 coats and I sanded it in between each coat to make it super smooth. I'm using this resin from Stone Coat Countertops, and you can buy everything in a kit. Like I said earlier, I got my white dye because we are going for a complete white countertop. You also get like a mixing thing, and you also get a brush to agitate the epoxy after you put it in, a couple of gloves, and then your trowel to spread out the epoxy. You will need to get a bucket and also have a burner or torch of some sort to burn out the air bubbles. And obviously a drill. It is a 1-to-1 ratio. So whatever you use of this, the same amount of this. So it's a resin and a hardener. So I'm going to take my bucket, mix it up, throw some dye on it, and get some epoxy down. Okay, let's mix some stuff. Now we're gonna add some white dye. Okay, so now we are ready to pour this out. I'm gonna start pouring here and work it around all the way through using my trowel and just make sure everything is covered. So let's go ahead. I just want to quickly show you guys as well another project that I did with the epoxy is in my rooftop bar outdoor kitchen on the countertops. I used a clear epoxy resin and I put it over a plywood that I scorched with a flame, and it turned out absolutely great. Okay, so after we got everything spread out, the next step is going to be agitating it with this brush. So I soaked it in the leftover epoxy, and now I'm just gonna dab random spots, and that's gonna take care of the lines you would see from that trowel. So I'm just gonna go ahead, do some random spots, and we should be good to go and ready for the next step. So as you guys can see, after that agitation, there is some air bubbles in this epoxy, and I'm gonna use this torch, just quickly go over it and you'll see it pop, and then it will be ready to set down. Okay, so now I'm ready to remove this aging that I put in here. I waited about 30-40 minutes just for it to set up a little bit, and then it's gonna drip off slowly, covering up this front edge. Okay guys, so we got these countertops all finished up and it looks absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if the camera is actually doing it justice because it is very bright and white. However, it is super smooth, super shiny, and really does stand out. We are considering painting this wall a different color because there is a lot of whiteness going on, just to make this pop a little bit more. I did mention that I am doing this on a budget, and it turned out a lot cheaper than I thought. So I paid $60 for the MDF plywood and then $180 for the actual epoxy kit. So this countertops turned out to be under $250, which is awesome in my opinion. We are getting super close to finishing up this pantry. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing. We do epic stuff all the time. In the next video, we are actually finishing up the pantry, and we're gonna do a whole video of it before and after, from where we started to where we are now. So with all that being said, thank you guys for all the love and support. Until next time, goodbye. And now it's time for the countertops. We are gonna do epoxy, put it on here, and then dress it off with cover it with epoxy resin and make cover it with epoxy resin and cover it with epoxy resin and the countertop, and but this is shiny and super smooth.